Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is another episode of UK Cowboys TV. It's season 1, episode 58. I'm your host, Mike Poland, and we've got a typical trio here. We've got England, Scotland, and Wales this week represented. We've got the two Scots, as I keep saying every week at the moment. We've got Paul and Graham. We've got myself representing Wales, and then we have Jamie, a.k.a. the subtitle.
AKA the Yorkshire sensation.
Yeah. So yes, everybody's looking all right, looking a bit fresh. Somebody was not so fresh Saturday night. If you want to talk about that, Paul.
It was my birthday.
Tell you what, with how we were on Saturday, I've seen more life at the Tramp's Best.
Honestly, man, it was good though. It was nice and quiet. Just went up to my mum and dad's, do the whole social distancing and the barbecue and stuff like that. And by the time I got home, I just ended up opening up the bottle of proper 12 whiskey and just started tanning that. And that's why I ended up getting a phone call with you guys.
I think I messaged you, Mike, didn't I, about 3:30. I rung Barry.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you?
Yeah, Barry told me you spoke as well.
Took screenshot and everything.
Yeah.
I was just stayed up there, but then again, I don't want to be looking like an idiot. So I'm glad I didn't phone just in case. I was
You were struggling, although we did cover a lot of angles in our drunken ramblings. Everything from the Cowboys to stag parties to weddings and dating.
Our dream girls.
Well, yours and Jamie's.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, we'll say that. Your missus is only a few yards away from you, so you can get belt right back at head.
Yeah, I know. I gotta be careful what I say. That's why the door's. That's why the door's closed. But anyway, we are continuing on from last week's work that we've been doing. We are in what we're calling the Positional Breakdown Series. So last week we did the quarterbacks, basically going from the top of the roster all the way down to the bottom, looking at all the plays of that position. If you didn't watch it, go back, watch it. We broke everything down. Dak and his contract, scouting reports, the lot. So this week is on to the running backs. So first of all, I've got, we'll try and break into some relevant news that has cropped up over the last week. First of all, guys, I don't know if you've seen, but as of from last Friday, the coaches were back in the building. They've opened the door to all the coaches. As they say, one step closer. Another thing as well that's cropped up that they reckon no later than the 26th of this month, rookies, traded players, so players from other teams that have been traded in, free agent players, and players on rehab, they will be back in the building too. So that's another step closer again. So we've got coaches, we've got players coming back. In another bit of news as well, ESPN, I don't know if you've seen this, they did an all-league redraft, the entire league. Coming straight off the board at number 9 was Dak Prescott.
Seen that, yeah.
The 9th player drafted off the board.
The one I am most shocked about was Zach Martin's position.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I must have missed that.
Very low down.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go back and take a look at it.
I think it was like 100. I think it was like 136 or something like that.
Oh, wow, that is quite low down.
Yep.
I think about the league's going though, isn't it? It's a QB-driven league, so you're going to see, regardless if whoever you like, let's say if it's Dak or if it's anybody on any other team, you're going to take that position relatively high up, aren't you? Because you want the best thing you can possibly get.
And not just that, I know a good quarterback needs a good running back as well. I think Zeke was about number 60 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, what the fuck are these guys smoking?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. In other news as well, it got posted up today. Attendance records for all the teams. Cowboys smashing it by about an average of
20,000 more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot more. But if you included, which I did in our post, if you included the average attendance record of the Wembley show out, we would rank second. The average Wembley attendance is 84,000. Coming in at third is New York Jets at 78.
That is mind-boggling. That.
Yeah. I know what that is.
It's so bad as well.
A lot of that will be, because it's the tourism side of it all.
I'm just wondering if it's because of fucking Dave Gettleman for the Giants. Everyone's switching from blue to green.
Yeah. Or it could be that just people want to get away from the husbands and wives for then.
Just go to the MetLife.
That's a fair house, Jamie.
I'm sure that they love their husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners. But yeah, everyone needs a bit of time away, don't they?
Well, what it could be more than anything. Do you know what it could be? It could be that really it's not 78,000. It's like 34, and it's 34,000 Jets fans, Giants fans, and they just stay and watch both games.
and here's the other question. So obviously you guys know I went to the Houston Texas game a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Right. There was and I still say this to this day, there was more Cowboys fans than there were Texans fans in that whole stadium, and they set the record attendance that day for NRG Stadium. And when you think about it, of all the other games, can you imagine if we get to 100% capacity for this new home opener game for the Rams and their brand new spaceship stadium? Can you imagine the turnout for Cowboys fans? Not Rams, but Cowboys, because the big following we've got over there in California.
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous. It's just going to be a sea of silver and blue.
Yeah.
Like you said, Paul, as well, when we went over for the Ravens game in 2016, I bet majority of the fans we saw when we was walking into the stadium were Ravens fans, and we had a bucket load behind us. We had a bit of banter with them, and like you say, especially, not that there's obviously more fans turn up to Cowboy Stadiums that support the road team, but it's essentially the biggest game on their schedule, isn't it? So it's where you get, and it's such a nice place to go in it that you make a long essentially make it a long weekend if you live in the States, can't you?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was just something that cropped up, and I thought was a bit noteworthy. But let's get into, guys, the running back position. Before we do, though, right, something I thought I'd get your guys' opinions on, right, that I think the biggest change, because there is a massive change this year with the Cowboys, and one of the biggest changes that's cropped up is the running backs coach.
Yeah, we don't have, was it Gary
Brown.
Yeah, he was a good coach as well.
He was a good coach, but here's one for you. The running backs coach now is actually Skip Peete, right?
Yep.
Now, he has quite a decent resume. I don't know if you've seen. The sort of guys we're talking about that this guy has brought up and coached. Marion Barber. Cowboys as well own DeMarco Murray, obviously not with the Cowboys, and Todd Gurley.
So, all legitimate good players.
All legitimate players. I don't know about you guys. The sort of play that as soon as you start talking about those type of running backs, it's a fairly mixed bag. Do you think Skip's the right man for this job?
I don't know. It's very hard to say. It just really depends what Mike McCarthy sets out in the offensive scheme. Because he'll have the final say on it, and obviously our offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, he will set out the plan, what he wants to do as well. But it's the running backs coach is just to follow what the playbook says, pretty much. But he'll have his own ways of doing techniques and drills and stuff like that to get the players in top form. So, I mean, I don't know, it just really boils down to what we're going to have as in terms of scheme, in terms of what type of run plays. Are we doing a lot more stretch? We're going to do more inside run type of base plays. We just don't know yet. We really don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll get you in, Gray. I know you're sitting there, but you got any particular take on when it comes to positional coaches? So, like in particular case here with Skip Pete, do you think that it's important that they get that right?
It's important because, McCarthy's never really had a blue chip at running back. He's gone through a complete list. I could rhyme off so many Packers running backs. They never seem to have the bell cow. Whether it was James Starks and Eddie Lacy or we all remember
Eddie Lacy.
We all remember being carved up last year with a 4 running back touchdowns. So I don't know. It's with the running back game, it's going to be far more important, just in terms of moving the ball again, with very little off-season kind of work.
Yeah.
It's so easy to call inside run 10 yards and you start again, particularly when you've got Zeke Elliott to go and do it for you. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of importance based on the Cowboys offense between running the ball with Zeke and the Dak wide receiver connection. That's going to be really, really important, especially when he can't get his guys on the field as much as he would like. But with things opening up at the facility, you really never know how much they're going to be able to do. But it's moving. It's getting back to the norm, if you like.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Eventually, we will get there.
Yeah. I mean, these are controlled facilities. They'll have cleaners and experts for every single floor. They'll have like positional based cleaners that follow these guys around, and
just to add on top of it, we'll have contractors to do like sterilization of
yeah.
like this, like
Totally.
gym equipment and stuff like that, like where they never had it before.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
like,
it's not like a supermarket or anything like that. It's not like you're going to have a massive turnover. And obviously they're going to have the 90-odd roster, but like what you say, the rookies and new players being in first, it's a gradual step, and but it's an impressive list from Skip Pete. To go back to your original question, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, especially we all know, particularly Barber and Murray, and it's you'll have to look at Gurley's numbers. So if you can give him a blue chip talent to work with, then why not? He could have a pretty impressive season.
Yeah, definitely. But let's move on, and I'll start with you, Jamie. Now, some people will argue that Zach Martin is the best player on this roster. When you look at some of the things he's done, you could pretty much say that he is. But some people will actually say that the best player on our roster is a running back. Obviously, we're talking here about Zeke. Feed Zeke. In terms of his ability, would you say he's in the top 3 in the league?
I probably might get a better stick for this. I still think he's the best running back in this league.
Yeah? Over Christian McCaffrey and Saquon?
Don't get me wrong, though. I mean, people like McCaffrey. I mean, they're good running backs. But if you kind of look at Zeke's production since he come into the league, it's been pretty consistent all the way through. Yeah, I know he had the year where he had the suspension, but even that year, his numbers were still pretty high. Yeah, I still think he's the best running back in this league. And he's at the minute, touch wood, it looks like he's showing no signs of slowing down. Let's just hope that, we've lost arguably one of the best centres in the league, one of the best centres we've had for a long time. Let's just hope that transition on the offensive line just doesn't hamper him a little bit. I don't see it hampering him too much. I mean, Zeke can improvise, can't he? I mean, you've seen it before, if a play is designed to go up the middle, and it's not kind of there, he'll bounce out onto the outside. So, yeah, I expect him to post high numbers and quality numbers again, as always.
Just to add on top of that, every season but 2017 when he had the 6-game suspension, he's been over 1,000 yards. So first season, 1,600.
Which was ridiculous.
Yeah. The following season, even though he only played 10 games, but he was almost 1,000 yards. That's for 10 games.
I think though, if you look at his game log or his yards per game average, I think he was still averaging like 90 yards a game on that season.
Yeah. Well, see when you break down his whole career and break it down of how many games he's played with his total yardage, so like you said, it tends to work roughly about 85 to 90 yards per game.
Yeah.
It's consistent in it, and I think as well, if I'm not wrong, I think there's only been the odd couple of games as well where he's had really poor stats in terms of what Zeke is used to, and he's averaged less than 3 yards a carry. And quite often, like I say, I know Gray mentioned a couple of running backs for the Packers that they had, and if you look through there consistently, they've all, well, more often than not, they've averaged around maybe 3 yards a carry, which is in most cases. I mean, if you haven't, like I say, you haven't got that blue chip running back, you're not gonna get a Zeke kind of production. You're gonna get the latter end, aren't you?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, you know, you talk about some games where he was bad. Like particularly, we can always remember the Broncos game, where he was literally non-existent. I think 11 yards. But I think some of it, when you go back to the negative side of his game. I know Graham and myself have spoken about this before. The sum of it is really not down to Zeke. It was just Garrett's coaching style being so conservative that, the ground game isn't working, let's come away from it. And you're like, that's your best player.
Yeah. And then you see, you flip it onto the other side, don't you? And I think that's where a lot of people start getting frustrated with Garrett, and which I think we've all said since the appointment of McCarthy, that this offense could light up even more than it has done over the last few years, because we're going to be a bit more unpredictable than we used to be. Because if you had a 3rd down and 10, a 3rd down and 9, more often than not, if you look through the stats, we would run the ball with somebody like Zeke or with Tony Pollard just to help the punter, and we would then rely on the defense. Whereas I can't see this happening with McCarthy. I can see us, do you know what I mean? Not being so conservative.
I mean, what you got to remember is McCarthy's going to play at a very typical West Coast, so that's going to bring the guys down in the box. But they're going to be so worried about the wide receiver core that we've got that will open up Zeke's game. But I know Graham was going to mention there about the schematic side of it all when the play was breaking down with Zeke. We can mention something there, Graham?
Yeah. He seems to be the kind of player where you can spread him out wide. And I know particularly in a Mike McCarthy offense, that's going to be good because, like you say, it is West Coast. So it's going to be get the ball out quickly, keep Dak's jersey clean, all that kind of stuff. And he has good hands as well. I mean, there's a reason we took him 4th overall. Good hands, a hunger for the end zone. Like, I'm just going through last season's stats, and especially towards in December when our overall game started to break down and we won and lost, at the toss of a coin. He scored 5 touchdowns in December, but our overall play just wasn't there. I mean, we all remember the video of the door coming off the hinges. Somebody had got into the locker rooms and you could hear Zeke through the wall. It was that loud. He was that vocal. So, getting the ball out quickly will be key, I think. And I think it will be spread out. But I think the way we've got our wide receiver core stacked, it's going to take balls away from Zeke. In my opinion, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if his numbers fell a little bit. Not down to his own fault. It's difficult to say because, like I think I said it sometime during during the spring. There is only one ball to go around. You know, you've just gone and spent your first round pick on another wide receiver. You've got your number receiver 2 coming up for a contract. Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to get open, and that's why the 40 burger t-shirts have come out, because we're gonna, we're gonna be putting up numbers.
There is a lot of that to it, but here's one for you, Paul. Right? Tell me if this concerns you. That his yards per game in the first year over 100 yards. Each of those years following have declined each year to obviously the last season, I think it was 84 yards per game average with a 4.5 average per carry. So obviously each of the 4 years he's played, he's got progressively less each year. Is that concerning? Or do you think that that's more of a sign of the coach declining?
I think it's a few factors. Obviously, with Zeke, he was going for the whole, like, just trying to get used to the whole new contract and stuff like that, and trying to, like, he's in the back of his mind, like, I am the best runner in the back. But besides that, I think it's more towards, like, we've had consistent injuries with our O-line.
Yes.
Like, Tyron's been missing a few games. Like, Travis wasn't there last season. The season before, sorry. Yep, so season before. And he wasn't really, like even though he still played up to the highest he could, but you could tell, like, he still wasn't there as physical as he was before he had to take that season out. So that's where I'm kind of thinking towards it.
Do you think perhaps any of the preseason shambles had anything to do with him? So obviously he's not doing workouts as much.
I'd say that it took some effect because he didn't get enough time to get as much reps in with the team. Because if you're not getting as much reps with a team with a new offensive coordinator, with a new type of playbook, like, you're going to struggle regardless. Like, when you're going to look at the playbook, it tells you you're going left, and that you accidentally go right, you're going to run into a brick wall with some linebacker or some defensive tackle running through the middle or something that's going to just take you out. So that will have a big impact for sure. It was during that whole off season.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing as well was that the schematics, I think, is a decline, because I think since he's come into the season, the last 2 seasons, Zeke's faced more stacked boxes and overloaded boxes more than any other running back in the league. It's insane. So they become one-dimensional. But bear in mind, we're saying all of this, right, that Zeke still finished the season with 1,357 yards, which ranked 4th amongst running backs, and he had 12 touchdowns. 14 if you include his receiving touchdowns as well, which is the second most for a season in his career.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers.
So he has the worst, one of his worst seasons. He's declined, and he's still banging them out.
I mean, that's why when he held out, he got his deal, because he knows how important he is to the Cowboys. But just, I hate to say it, but just to go back to another question you had, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I don't think Zeke is the best anymore. I would put Christian McCaffrey at the top of that list now, because Christian McCaffrey is the Carolina Panthers offense. Who's the?
Well, he has single-handedly making them win. So
who is the Panthers' number 1 receiver?
We don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Christian McCaffrey.
It's probably Christian McCaffrey.
Probably.
It's probably Christian McCaffrey. Just doing a quick sum there. Zeke has carried the ball 1,169 times.
That's a lot of tread.
Now that's hands on the ball. That's not including blocking.
Yes,
including plays.
Which is what he was drafted for.
Yeah,
he was drafted for blocking.
Crouch run. That's just when he was given the ball. He's going to start breaking down sooner or later.
There's going to be some tread there.
Yes.
Yeah, if you and there's going to be a split divide where people are not like I'm going to be bad for saying this, but people are only educated enough about the game of football. It's like if you're going to put your star running back in nearly every single play, as much as he wants to, it's going to wear and tear on him the next coming years and years and years to come, and he's going to be no as effective. Like, take the prime example was like Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, is a prime example.
Prime example, like he was brilliant for Minnesota for all these years. Then he just used it, never really took a rep out, and you can see him when there was the whole talk about Dallas was going from. That never happened, obviously. But you saw the season after he completely declined. That's because his body was starting to shut down, and he just had wee roles. And like, don't get me wrong, he did all right with Washington. He did okay, but he was nowhere near the same type of player as he was back in Minnesota.
And ironically, still the best running back in Washington.
Ironically, yes.
Even closer to home, you could look at DeMarco Murray.
Yeah,
we ran DeMarco Murray into the ground. 1,000-yard runner every year, and when it came to contract time, we thought, "Nah, DeMarco, we've burst you. We're not going to give you the big money." He went to the Eagles and was a bust.
And fizzled out.
And Tennessee as well.
Tennessee,
and just kind of touching what Graham said about obviously the ball will probably get spread around a little bit more this year. That could potentially help. I say that there's a lot of tread on there. But if you're, I'll just use 50% as just for conversation's sake. But if you're going to split the ball around and reduce Zeke's load by 50%, it's only going to benefit the team. And like I say, he's going to stay healthy. When he gets on the field, he's going to be more dynamic than he already is when he gets on the field. And you're going to potentially, you could maybe add another 1-2 years on him.
What you're talking,
maybe would get if he's constantly playing at that high level in terms of reps that he's getting.
Yeah, so, and then what you're talking about there as well then is obviously he's getting more quality touches as opposed to quantity. Yeah.
Because it just got to some points, didn't it? Like I say, we got two-dimensional maybe last year, whereas a lot of the touches he got, if Garrett wouldn't have been, like say, so conservative and would have been like, you know what, we're just going to run the ball on third down. So because you're looking for somewhere to maybe set the punter up a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're going to put Zeke in because you know what Zeke can do. Zeke can run up the middle. He can still take on 2 or 3 guys. Whereas if it's 3rd and 10 and you're potentially going to throw the ball, you can look at putting Tony Pollard in there and adding a bit of a different dynamic to the offense because, you know what I mean, you can put him in. You could put him in the slot and you could cause a bit of confusion, but because it's so conservative, you're going to rely on your number 1 back rather than maybe your number 2 who could give you a little bit more of an edge in a different play that you're going to put in there.
Bring back the Wildcat is what you're trying to say.
That was some years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So there's one for the. But luckily, you're kind of helping us segue into the next guy, which is running back number 2. I think is fair to say on everyone's list. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is Memphis's Tony Pollard. So last year's rookie. Taken in the draft. So I did mention the stat last week or maybe in the week before, but I couldn't remember the exact date. So the Dallas Cowboys last season had 2 running backs over 100 yards in a game, which was against Miami. That was the first time that the Cowboys had done it since 1998.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So a 22-year-old. I mean, there's people in our page and group that weren't even born in 1998. So
to think about, like, yeah, we mentioned them kind of running backs that we've had.
I would have been 12 years old.
22. You've had 2 running backs go 100 yards in a game together. He's just insane.
And in that game as well, I think they both scored a touchdown as well. But here's one for you with Tony Pollard, and I'll come round to you guys on his scouting report, just to see what you guys think. But just to give you some information here. So we were talking that on Zeke's average yards per carry, he was on about 4.5 last year. So Tony Pollard over 80 80 attempts, went 455 yards. That's a 5.4 average. So, no, obviously, what we're talking about slightly, though, is Zeke wearing them down and Tony Pollard coming in for the kill afterwards.
Yeah.
Go on. What were you going to say, Nico?
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just saying I agree there.
Oh, right, yeah. But here's an interesting one for you. That his total plays 106. So that's 106 rushes and receptions. He scored 3 touchdowns over those. So in about 30 attempts, he'll score a touchdown. That is a lot more attempts than Zeke. But I think one of the things we can all agree on, although this is a small sample size that we've got, because it's only small. I mean, he didn't even have, as I say, it's 80 attempts and, a handful. I think it was 25 receptions or so. That one of the things he is good at, which is for definite, which is going to put defensive coordinators on their toes, is his diversity, that he can run and he can catch the pass.
And his footwork. Don't forget his footwork.
His footwork, yeah, is actually, that is something that I've put on my scouting report. But give it to me then, Paul. What is it that's so appealing about Tony?
Well, he's been a bit of a breath of fresh air. Like, he's actually helped Zeke out substantially. Like, rather than if say for example we were just to kind of use Zeke all the time in that, like, we never really had that secondary running back. Like, we had Darren McFadden at one point. That's fair enough. He'd still do the job, but what Pollard has, like you said, he has that diversity. He's got that agility. He's got the footwork.
Yes.
But he's not like he's not as a powerful running back, but he's a more elusive. Like, to me, I see him a completely different running back compared when you compare him to Zeke. Zeke's the more physical, like, right in your face bulldozer. Yeah. Like he'll do whatever it takes to get those extra yards. That Pollard, like, he can make people miss easily. Yeah. And Zeke can do that as well. He can not people miss. He would just jump over them. For example, you know what I mean? So, but in terms of actually, like, making one player go one direction or using a juke move and stuff like that, that's Pollard in a nutshell. And every time we saw Pollard do that, it's like, wow, why is he not getting his more game time?
That is something that I was going to bring up, which I'll ask Graham in a moment. But I totally agree with what you're saying. That you'll see with Zeke, you'll see a player bounce off him, or you'll see 2 players trying to bring him to the ground.
Yeah.
Where, if that's Tony Pollard, he's going straight to ground. So if he doesn't make him miss on the first move and he gets tackled, he's going down. But let's go back to what we were saying there, Gray. Do you know what? I forgot what we were talking about.
Tony Pollard, running back.
Tony Pollard.
My dear Lord. Right. So, Tony, in terms of him being able to be used in a number of different ways, one of the things we did see is them playing as a running back and moving out to the slot. Do you think that you're going to see 2 running back system, possibly, and moving Pollard out to play as that wide receiver?
I don't think so. Maybe under Garrett a little bit longer, but not under McCarthy. I'm actually going to go a little bit against the grain here. I don't think Pollard had a great first season, because I'm looking through. He broke 10 yards 3 times last year.
So, just to jump in then, right? I know where you're going to go, but do you think perhaps this is another example yet again of Garrett misusing his pieces?
It could well be. I mean, you run through our list of offense. I mean, we had a top 3 offense last year and we didn't get it done. So there's every chance. Don't get me wrong, there's every chance. But see going solely on stats, he flashes. He doesn't. The consistency is not there. Is he getting the ball enough? Probably not. There's a couple of times, week 1, week 3, week 15, and week 17, he got double-digit carries. The Vikings game, he ran for -4. I get the skill set is there, but we haven't seen it yet, and I just wonder. There's a question mark over, was it Garrett, or was it simply the fact that he's still very, very young?
And there's some to work with.
Don't forget as well, like we had problems with the O-line as well. Like, just to always add that to because if you don't have an O-line, we don't really much have a running game. They can block.
Yeah, that's true.
But I will say that also that the drafting of CeeDee Lamb was catastrophic for Tony Pollard because, like I said, there's only one ball and you've just gone and added another blue chip talent to take attempts away. So if you're going to have 3 top receivers and Zeke, where are you going to fit Pollard in? Just in terms of maths,
of volume, yeah.
You know, I don't see where.
It just really depends what Kellen Moore has up his sleeve. Like you asked the question earlier, though, if we're going to run like a two back system, you could potentially, because you could have one side by side each by Prescott, and there's so many different types of plays you can do with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And you play that wing back / full house sort of formation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the running back system. I mean, from my understanding of it, obviously, but the running back system under a Mike McCarthy offense is, up until this point, has been very, very toss of a coin, because anybody that plays fantasy football knows that you do not draft Packers receivers to play every week for you because you don't know who's going to start.
Yeah,
you simply don't know. I mean, if you go through just solely fantasy stats, the Packers do not use the running back well. It could be anybody. It could be whoever performed the best in training. So when you go and give McCarthy Zeke Elliott, he's going to say, right, he's the guy. And are you going to leave your 15 million star on the bench so that your backup can get touches when Zeke maybe he's only had 10 carries by the third quarter? I just don't see where they're going to cram everybody in, unfortunately.
Well, that's the question of where they're taking precedence of contract money rather than who's best player.
Yeah, best players on the field, yeah. But, I mean, in terms of finding him a role, Jay, here's one for you. Do you think perhaps he could be our starting kick / punt returner? I mean, this is a guy who had 7 kickoff return touchdowns whilst in college. What do you make of that?
It's worth a try. I'm surprised we haven't seen him a lot more. Like you said, just let alone from the stats from Memphis. I mean, It was pretty much a return star only for them. It's something we've sorely lacked. Like I think, I don't know what his name. What was it? The receiver that we had that came out of Carolina. North Carolina that we sent. Switzer. He was supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Switzer. Yeah.
Take that issue away, and it's not. Oh God, I'd love to try. Like I say, what was the issue last year, Garrett? Who knows? I think, like Graham touched on, I mean, we're going into a different offense here this year. So if he's going to have a massive role, and McCarthy thinks that he can help take this offense to the next level, I think we'll see that this year. If not, I think, like I say, he's going to have to find himself a role on special teams. It'd be nice to see him around. I loved this pick last year. He was one of my favourite picks. I know we didn't have a great draft, but I think he was probably the highlight of the draft. Like I said, we saw flashes, and then I think just trying to touch it back in because we were so conservative last year.
Yeah.
I personally think that's why we didn't see probably a lot of him, because, like you say, you're playing conservative football, so you're going to put your £15 million running back in there to get you punter some extra yards, a bit of room to get some off. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just, is he going to fit in this style of offense? saying that would we maybe see more of a slot receiver this year rather than see him in the backfield?
Go on, Paul. I know you're itching to go.
Special teams, definitely, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Tabor Austin's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Who else do we have? Like
CD Lamb.
Yeah.
Well, we do have CD Lamb. Like we could probably even use both of them, one for the left and one for the right, or unless they go for or single returner. We don't know yet. But,
depending on the kick coverage.
Yeah, just really depends. But in terms of getting Pollard more opportunity to get more game time, it will definitely be more in special teams for sure. Because he's now because someone's now vacated that spot, and he's got experience doing that for the Cowboys as well as he has done it before. Like one returner, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure. He might have been on the field. I don't think he returned it though, did he? Because it was all Tavon Austin at the time. Yeah,
but he definitely did it during pre-season for sure.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think they did try him out, didn't they?
But he still understands, Chris. It's still under Kellen Moore, offensive scheme. Like he may have a certain way he might want to do it, but in terms of just getting him more game time, like I said, I think it will definitely come more through the special teams route.
Yeah, me too. Go on. Sorry.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. I mean,
no, I mean the only thing, my bad knock that I've got on him is the thing I got in brackets is he's a jack of all trades, master of none. I think is the best way to describe him.
Yeah.
Is the best way to go. And then my comp for him, I don't know what you guys think. I've got it down as a bit of a Kenyon Drake. That type of player, just to put some sort of comp to him anyway. But let's move further on down because the time is ticking away here. We look at the last two running backs on this roster. So we had two running backs that we took later on in day 3. One of them we actually cut. He passed waivers, made it on the practice squad. That's Jordan Chun from Troy. I know me and Paul were talking about this briefly before the show. I don't know if you remember, but he was in that debacle about, was it going to be Mike Webber? Was it going to be Jordan Chun? Bit of a back and forth about who was going to make it. In the end, they cut both. But just to put what he's done so far, right? So he was a 2-star prospect, first of all. His 40 time was a 4.69, and he did a bench press of 19. So for a running back, that's somewhere about average.
For bench press, that's good. It's not amazing, but it's good. But I thought it's 4.6.
4.6. Yeah.
For a running back, you would expect maybe 4.4.
Yeah.
5.
Oh yeah, and especially when the guy's 5'11".
Oh, bad. Yeah, definitely.
So on the shorter side. Now he has, believe it or not, played a game. He has been in one game for the Cowboys. He was on special teams. But for Troy, his junior year was actually his best year. So his 4th year it was, because he was redshirted for a year. He actually finished the season with 1,288 yards. That's 1,516 all-purpose, which ranked 8th for Troy. But what is remarkable is he had 16 touchdowns during that season, which is second in Troy's history for touchdowns for a running back. And another remarkable thing he done as well is against Southern Mississippi. He had a game where he ran 176 yards. So, I mean, this is the guy who does know how to play the position. My comp for him is James Conner. But has anyone got any take on him whatsoever about how we feel about him?
Well, I've really seen very much of him, so I can't really comment to say as much. So,
I mean, when you've got somebody like Zeke, that barely misses a snap, let alone a game, and then you've got Pollard hoovering up the rest, you don't really have much room for a third receiver. You're talking about a special teams player, or somebody to run down and kicks and so on. You don't really. It's difficult because you never see them. They're just.
It wouldn't surprise me if one of the two running backs on the roster, like I say, made it for special teams purposes. But I would probably imagine one of them will end up on the practice squad. And
again,
if anything, we'll probably go out and we'll get some kind of seasoned veteran just to add a bit more. I know Zeke, in terms of his experience, you could class him as, but I mean, more of the older kind of type, so somebody that's pushing maybe his 30s, early 30s. I might say more of that kind of, just kind of another experienced leadership role in that running back room, just because obviously they say Zeke's still at a young age, Pollard's at a young age, so you want somebody to kind of mentor them going forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll come back to that in a moment about players left on the roster on free agency. But there is then the fourth guy on the roster then, which is this year's undrafted free agent from TCU. So going TCU again, is Darius Anderson. Now, this guy is 5'11" and 195 pounds, right? So he is a very small guy. He's a bit of a tweener. His nickname is the Jet because he is fast. Went to the Senior Bowl and he went to the Combine. So I'll give you some times again. Now, I say, he's fast. His 40 time was 4.6, but his 10-yard split was 1.56, which is quite fast.
Yeah.
But it is his explosiveness that makes him stand out, because he had a 36-inch vert and a 10'8" broad jump, which are both decent numbers. That's explosive. Where we've got I've got him on 153 attempts, and in that he had 43 missed tackles.
Wow,
which is
quick. It's quick, yeah. It's he's praying to be the kick and punt returner though. Just with the elusiveness and the explosiveness, he wants to be on special teams, and fourth on the roster. That's what you're really looking at. So, but those numbers bode well for a kick returner, especially the way the league's kind of clamping down on kick and punt returns at the moment. I mean, they're close to kicking the punt and kick game out altogether. I've seen daft stories of them offering up 4th and 15s instead of onside kicks and all this kind of stuff as well. I mean, they're trying to get rid of it altogether. So, he'll be hoping for a kick and punt return opportunity as well, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the only issue that we've got on him the two big things. Number one is his pass protection. Hasn't been asked to do it a lot. When he has, he's failed.
Yeah.
And the other one is his vision. He is hesitant to hit the hole, and he'll want to bounce it outside too often. And for a guy who's 5'11" and 195 pounds, bouncing it on the outside is not the way to go.
Nah, I mean, NFL defenses will catch on to that pretty quick as well.
Yes.
If you're not willing to do the whole spectrum, your cornerbacks and linebackers will pick up on that pretty quickly.
Especially with how dominant this offensive line is up the middle. You look at how many runs we play that go up the middle, like I say, that they can create so many holes that, like I say, you don't want any running back bouncing outside unless it's absolutely necessary to. And if he's scared to it, like I say, probably his elusiveness, and like you say, that might get him on the practice squad. But if I don't see it being more than that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, my comp for him has been dating a guy who's taking this ship. Bad comp, but Damien Harris.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing these guys have got in terms of problems is that you can pick running backs up. I mean, you only have to look at the Chiefs. Who did the Chiefs go after was it June, December, during the playoffs? I can't remember. It escapes me at the moment, but they managed to get somebody off the street. Who, they're a dime a dozen. See, unless you've got a top 30 odd talent, anybody under that, I would say, is replaceable pretty quickly, because it's not like quarterback where you have to learn a playbook for months on end. And then I'm sure you could go to the NFL, top 50 free agents, and find a pretty seasoned professional that doesn't have a job yet. If your guy goes down, you can go to somebody and say, "Listen, we've lost player X. We need you to come in and do a job for us." I mean, look at the Seahawks. They went and picked up, what was his name? Played for the Raiders as well. That's terrible. Marshawn Lynch. They went and got Marshawn Lynch. Just because they felt that he could do a better job than the guys they already had.
I think as well, like you say, like it's a tricky position, like I said, because there's so much turnover. Unless you've got like a blue chip, like you say, like a Zeke or a McCaffrey or a Saquon Barkley, or even something like a James Conner at Pittsburgh. If you've not got someone that's like that, that's dominant, like you say, pretty much every down the play, they're just going to turn over. And like I say, especially like I say, and Graham's mentioned it a few times, so much little ball to kind of go around. So if you're not that kind of blue chip caliber running back, you're not going to get a lot of balls. So you're going to tend to bounce around the league because you can't show really what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just to wrap all of it up, then go on, Paul.
We've actually missed somebody out.
Go on then.
Rico Dowdy. He's an undrafted free agent who signed. Running back from South Carolina.
Right, okay. Hit me with it.
Well, I'm just quickly looking at his stats now from last season. Highest rushing was 102 yards. Total yards, per game was 102. Longest rush was 35 yards. Rushing touchdowns was only 2. Reception yards, 67. Longest reception, 26. And receiving touchdowns, none. But he played all games by the looks of it, playing teams against Alabama, Missouri, Georgia, Florida, A&M, Clemson, and North Carolina. So he's played it up against some good, decent teams, but his best game was against Kentucky and Alabama. So that's the only information I know about him, but based on looking at the picture of him, he looks quite a physical running back, in the same way of, what was the running back we drafted a couple of years ago, but we ended up cutting him.
I know who you're on about.
Bo Scarborough.
Bo Scarborough, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if, I'm just looking, I don't know anything about Rico, but just looking based on the picture in terms of physique, he looks quite a stocky looking running back, so that's the only information I can really find so far. So we do actually have a fifth. Yes,
you are quite correct. Yes, so they took him as an undrafted free agent. This is a guy, mind you, that has done a little bit of kickoff work as well.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to, what Mike's trying to do, he's trying to find as many options, as much competition to fight for that key role within special teams, especially. And that's what one, I don't know if it's just me, but I thought last year we didn't really do that well at it.
Yeah.
No, we definitely didn't in that sense.
So
an interesting one looking at Rico is more of his receiving work. That's quite interesting to look at with the type of frame that he has.
Yeah, even though he only got 67 yards, and that was on one game, and that was against I cannot pronounce this, Appalachian State.
Appalachian
State.
I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry, but you
only say App State.
App State then. Okay, thanks. Sorry from App State. But in terms of that game overall, we had 14 attempts and rushing and only 9 yards, so it wasn't that great. But in terms of receiving yards, he recorded 5 catches and went for 67 yards, and the longest pass he caught was 26 yards during that game. So, I mean, To me,
I mean, they are trying to, as you say, they're trying to create options. They've picked up as much as they
options
can.
and versatility. That's what they're really trying to look for.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, though, that the last two guys, I think, you're looking really, these guys, they're undrafted free agents, so they got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
But it's possible. It's possible, I
Possibly
think,
be a
that they
practice
take.
squad or something.
That's probably their best bet. Their best bet is that they could get to practice squad. Maybe Chung gets promoted to he gets onto the 55-man roster in 55.
Yeah.
Be
more of a blocker rather than a catcher type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe special teams.
Prime example would be Keith Smith. Prime example when we had him, he started up as a linebacker, then we moved him to fullback to give him a more better role. But he really excelled when it came to special teams.
That's right.
So he did.
Yeah. And special teams is somewhere where obviously we need a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, we've got the right guy for it.
That's very true.
He did wonders for LA. Did wonders for them.
Yeah. But that does neatly wrap up the running back position this week, guys. But before we go anywhere, we just need to give a shout out to Cowboys Experience. Make sure, guys, whatever you do, if you're going to a game this year, you book it through Cowboys Experience. Their game packages and tour packages are completely phenomenal. You'll not have a better day, even on game day with their tailgate as well. Make sure when you book it, though, you book using the booking code UK Cowboys to receive a free gift from them. Just by saying that, that's all you've got to do. But make sure you do that at Cowboys Experience. But from myself, UK Cowboys TV, that is the running back position broken down this week. From Graham, Paul, and Jamie, thank you very much for joining, guys.
Thanks again, man.
Yes. And, yeah, fun as always, as they say. But we will see you next week where we have a special guest joining us. More coming up on that later on in the week. You will definitely not want to miss it. And we do more positional breakdown work with the special guest. And for this position, we'll definitely need his help to really break it down and nick it down. So join us next week, guys, and we'll see you then. But from UK Cowboys TV and from all of us, thank you very much, and we'll see you again.
See you later.
See you next time.
Bye.